Good morning. I'm Steve Rafferty, the town of Falmouth's water superintendent. We're here at the Long Pond Water Treatment Plant site. In our last episode, it was August. We were pulling the building together and getting inside of it. We've been working diligently and hard. We've got about another 4 months to go before we're making nice clean water for the town out of the facility. We at this point here have energized the building with power. We've got gas hooked up and folks are inside working on putting things together. As you can see a little bit along the edge here, we're to a point we're putting fencing. We're doing some of the landscaping, although more will happen in the spring. And overall, we're good to go. Let's go inside and take a look. So we're inside the electrical room of the treatment plant. We've got the power brought onto the site a little bit around August, and then the powers come into the main switch gear, and then that power, this is a very large fuse box if you want to think of it that way, where all of the pumps and the motors and the valves that have motors on them and everything that runs this plant has got a breaker that runs it and or a VFD. When the power comes in initially, it comes to the center. We've got it set up so there's a left side and a right side. So if we have 4 pumps in one area, 2 pumps are on this side, 2 pumps are on this side. So if we ever have an issue with the electrical lines, we don't lose the plant and we keep it running. We have tags on these equipment right now. That indicates that these are powered. Griffin Electric, our subcontractor for the electrical project, has done a fabulous job, both in terms of the quality of the work and staying on top of all the wiring. This big pile right down here, these are just leftover pieces of wire. But at the far back, that cabinet that's open, that's where all the instrumentation and the low voltage wiring comes back. That's really the hub that connects the computer that runs the entire plant to all of the little instruments, the temperature gauges, the pressure gauges, the flow elements, the various things that we keep track of around the site, turbidity for the color and density of the water and things like that. With some of our motors, they're quite large, and we don't want to run them at full speed all the time. We want to ramp the motors up and down based upon the pumping rate. In order to do that, we use a technology called variable frequency drives. And so we have a series of variable frequency drives on this wall, and again on there, much like where we bring the electricity in, split left and right. And these things are all electronically controlled, so we can ramp a pump up from almost 0 speed all the way up to its full speed over time. We're back to the control and instrumentation. If the flow meter says we need more flow, the electric device communicates with the VFD. The VFD increases the frequency. The pump turns a little bit faster. Today's actually a little bit of a big day on the job site. We've been working with temporary power up until today. Today's the first day that you see the overhead lights actually turned on. All of the lighting in this plant is LEDs, very, very efficient electrical devices. Similarly, the VFDs are a device that minimizes the use of electricity. You only need as much as you need. So we're trying to be as efficient and conservative with the use of power here as we can be. Let's go walk outside and look where we're at with all the tankage and how far we've come in the last several months. Come with me. So we're now in the part of the plant where we have the tankage behind us, which is where we're going to treat everything. With me right now is Keith. He's one of the superintendents with Methuen, the general contractor. And over the last several months, Keith has been instrumental in pulling together the dissolved air flotation at this end of the plant. Keith, briefly, can you tell us what you've been putting in?
Basically what we've been putting in is all of the flocculators that you see around here. So the water goes into the flocculator tanks. We mix the chemicals.
Yep.
They dump over a weir wall into our first section of the DAF tank, where we use recycled water and air and create a floated scum, where the water particles will have flocculated together and create a floated scum. and they'd float across the top, and we use the rotary skimmer to skim it off into the trough. Meanwhile, the clarified water drops to the bottom and exits the DAF system.
Excellent. Well, I don't want to hold you up too long because I know you're working on getting the filters together. We're going to go downstairs after a little bit and we'll look at the saturators, which is how they make all those bubbles of air to float all of the algae up and out. Thank you so much.
No problem.
Carry on.
Thank you.
So back in August, when we were last touring through here, we'd just begun to get ready to start hanging the doors. This space is pretty well finished, and as you can see, we're actually using it for storage. This is a garage area, and this is the area where the gentlemen that work in the distribution system will work out of. The backhoes and the dump trucks and everything will store here. But just to run you through quickly, we've put the doors on, we've hung the doors, we've installed the bollards which protect the doors and everything. We take a minute and look up above. Again, all the lighting's in. The red piping is the sprinkler system, and that's all installed in this area. We've pressure tested those pipes to know they work well. We've installed the motor operators for the doors. We've installed the drainage piping. We've installed the heating. And we've painted all of the walls on the interior. The only thing that's left to do is to finish off the floor, but we wait to do that at the very end after we clean the building out and get ready to go. So, as you can see, it's coming together and coming together, and we are now entering into the sort of testing and training period. You'll recall there's a raw water pump station that pumps water up to this location. Well, we've tested those pumps, we've made sure they work, and we've actually pumped water all the way up to and to the front gate of the treatment processes in this treatment plant. And over the next 2 to 3 weeks leading up through Christmas, we'll continue to test a tank at a time, and a pipe, and a gate, and a system at a time. And then by the time we get into January, we'll start doing what's called performance testing, where we refer to it as forward flow. We'll bring flow into the plant and go through the plant from tank to tank to tank, and we'll actually circulate the water back around to the front end so we don't waste water. But once we get through all of that, then it's time to turn the plant on for good. Let's go downstairs. There's a lot of piping, a lot of things that come together that support the tankage, and that's a little bit of interest to you folks out there, I hope, too. So we're downstairs now, and I have my hand right now on the dissolved air flotation tank. Those are the tanks up above with the saturated air where we're skimming the algae off. After the water comes out of this tank, it needs to go out to the ozone contactors, which are a separate structure in that direction outside. And then the water needs to come back from that and come over and get into the filters, which are located here. This is the piping that does that. Again, the contractor's been down here working. This is 36-inch pipe, pretty good sized pipe. It takes a certain amount of skill to line it up and put it together. It has to fit exactly. One of the things we do is we use a special type of clamp called a Victaulic coupling, which gives a small amount of flexibility. So when you put the thing together, it will line up.